and that is a big initiative for us, is to increase our diversity, especially not just in tech, but in cyber. There's not a lot of women business leaders there. And also that 100% ransomware recovery rate is something that I'm very proud of. Since I took over the company in 2018, when we started keeping track of this metric, that's a really important one. Not everybody can say that. So a little bit about me. My background, I actually came from a Fortune 10 company. So my path to South Florida, to entrepreneurship and really being in this field is a little bit non-traditional. Right out of college, I joined General Electric. I had the privilege of moving around, flying around the country and the world. Living in all those little dots on the map are places that I lived and worked, where my team and I did work. And so one thing I will tell you about working for a large company that makes medical devices that save lives and aircraft engines that fly millions of people around the world every day is that quality process and security and business resiliency is built into every single thing that we did as a company. And whether you were an engineer on the factory floor, or you were in finance in the back office, or you were the administrative assistant greeting people coming in the door, everyone understood their role in quality and security for the company. And that is probably the one thing that I see with the small to mid-sized business market, is it's really easy to say, well, that's the IT company or the IT team's job, whereas security needs to be a part of everybody's day-to-day experience. So with that, I will turn it over to Mike.
Excellent. Great job. Oh, you went right past that, right to all the good stuff, right? We're not going to spend a lot of time here, guys. I was asked to put up some street cred stuff, but anyway, I've been in tech for, as Kathy, I started in 27 years ago in IT. I'm a veteran, so I jumped right out of the military and straight into IT. Lucky enough to be at some very large tech companies. So I've been global for a long time. As Kathy, I think I've been in every continent except Africa. I haven't been to Africa, but anyway. I live up in DC, and I work for a company called Social Mobile. I'm the Chief Technology Officer. And the reason that is really cool is because I spent the last, prior to this year, 8 years at Google, specifically on the Android team. So I would consider myself kind of smart about Android and mobility. So that's my specialty in security, is mobility. I actually published quite a few papers, and I wrote a lot of the security technical implementation guides for DISA, the defense agency. So I'm very familiar with that. Let's move past that stuff, because those feel good when you're talking about yourself. What is Social Mobile? What do we do? And why did Mike Burr leave Google to go work for this South Florida company? And I'll tell you why. They build Android devices. And it's a very niche product, or it's a very niche set of products. We basically build enterprise mobile solutions. We were the first company to get what's called an enterprise device license agreement from Google. What does that mean? It means we can build Android devices that consumer Android devices do not have to meet. In other words, we don't have to have devices that have the latest and greatest to meet consumer needs, because we build our gear directly for enterprise customers. We shave off all the corners that they don't need. We build private label devices, and all of our gear is actually certified by Google. We're also certified to run on the carriers here in the US and many carriers worldwide. Not just put their SIM in, but our modem is actually certified on their network. So we basically design, build, and deploy all these devices, and the number one key is secure, right? Everybody here has a phone in your pocket, so everybody's worried about connecting to the Wi-Fi here, right? If you did, I'll know about it. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway, we're a Google partner, and we also work with the federal government. Do we want to go into this now, or are we going to do this later? It's like, I kind of felt like I wanted to everybody should know. Let's get that first. So, in mobile, and specifically at Social Mobile, these are the 4 areas that we work in, right? The verticals. Government, we have a several awards, so we're building a very cool device for the Air Force. Healthcare and pharma, retail and finance. The thing here is the barriers of the game. What are the bad guys trying to do? We know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get our data, right? But in specific, government, now these days, the China efforts and so on and so forth, North Korea, you name name the next attacker, right? But they're always trying to get government secrets, infiltrate, a lot of phishing, social engineering, retail. They want your credit card information. That's what they want, right? They want to get your information. Same with healthcare. They want personally identifiable information. And then finance, again, they're trying to do theft. They're trying to get money. That's the bottom line. Probably preaching to the choir. But on mobile, it's really important to protect all avenues of cybersecurity. I'd say a mobile phone touches every part of cybersecurity. And it's really important to sort of have use cases that can protect your users and the data, whether it's work or personal data on the same device. I have a couple of examples here. I'm not going to read through these, but these are some good examples of things that probably happen to everybody in this room, or you know somebody where there's been a phishing attempt. It's really key to sort of make sure you're using two-factor authentication and conditional access, even on mobile. So I think, I'll just go to wrap it up here, but these are just a couple of examples. You guys have all probably seen this before. So now I'm going to turn it over to Michael.
Thank you for your service. I knew I should have gone first because I don't have a resume like you two guys, so I'll go through a few things. And if you guys were here earlier in the cyber presentation, sorry, some of these slides are repetitive. So I'm president of Lab Infotech, and yes, we're that IT team that they call. We're a full managed service provider right here in Fort Lauderdale. Glenn's on the board of South Florida Tech Hub, so I'm just the only president that's there. We provide full managed services that are there. So basically, we're that outsourced IT. We're also co-managed for a lot of our larger clients. So a lot of the larger clients use us as the second stringers to be able to go out there to back them up. So again, there are 24 people. They're all my employees. We don't really outsource. It's an important factor because lots of times you'll find someone that you sign them up, and lo and behold, you know you're talking to another country. So in reality, yes, we do have some outsourced employees that are in Jamaica. They are my fully employees. So it's kind of cool that Microsoft themselves has a large call center in Kingston. We were able to recruit some people. It was just kind of an interesting piece. Can't wait to go down and visit. So some of our affiliations, we're very involved in the community. I bring this up for the security piece because I know Sanjay's really involved in InfraGuard that's out there. InfraGuard, FBI, Secret Service, Homeland Security. Kind of cool getting the briefings, kind of cool going and involving yourself and meeting some of the people that are out there in the field. FBI is anxious to hear from all of you guys that go out there. They want you to fill out those IC forms online, but FBI is out there at a lot of different events. So I love meeting them and hearing what they actually can do and go out there. I can't talk about this enough, so if any of you guys are hockey fans, we're actually an official provider of the Florida Panthers hockey, but we're their Cyber Protect partner. So I put a couple things up there because it's kind of cool to see my logo on TV and games. We are just a small kind of company. I've been a season ticket holder since '96. So when I flip on a game, my wife is sick of me DVRing every single game, and I post them in my family chat. Post-game print Twitter pieces with our logo on it, but it is kind of cool when you flip on TV and your logo's out there in Seattle and Edmonton and that type of stuff. But we help with the Panthers with our Acronis product line. So if you guys want to see an interesting kind of product out there, Acronis is out there. And I know you did talk about two-factor authentication. If you have a chance, just for a cool technology, the guys with the token booth, so those of us that have gray beards, Token, they do make rings. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, it was the first networking protocol out by IBM called Token Ring, but a two-factor authentication ring. So how many times did you forget your UB key? You go out there and maybe you had the pass card to get into the building, the UB key to possibly get into things, and then maybe you're getting a text for another 2FA. The theory behind the token ring is you wear the ring that fits to you, and all that will be able to be integrated into full two-factor authentication, not only to get yourself into the building, but also get yourself into the PCs. It's kind of a cool thing to look at. Isn't fully out in production yet, but I just wanted to invite them out and to talk about those things. We won a lot of awards. It's kind of cool. A lot of these are, almost all of these aren't paid awards. I just came from an award ceremony in the city of Deerfield for the Greater Fort Lauderdale Chamber. Our company was the community hero partner for all the work that we actually do in the not-for-profit space. So for those of you that are working with not-for-profits or involved with not-for-profits, make sure you see Glenn after there, because through Microsoft and a lot of our providers, we donate a lot of software that's in place there. the statistic that they said at our luncheon is last year we were able to get donated equivalent to $650,000 to various not-for-profits and charities. So kind of an interesting piece, and I was the Small Business Person of the Year, so I figured I had to stand up after I saw everybody's resume that I put together here. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sanjay. Good luck.
Good afternoon. The topic of this panel we picked was barbarians at the gate. And what are you going to do to protect your assets? What I want to say is, barbarians, beware. We've got some heavy hitters over here. A round of applause for Kathy, Mike, and Michael. My name is Sanjay Dev. I'm here on behalf of Tech Hub. I used to be on the executive committee and I used to be on the board. And interestingly, to focus on other board duties, I stepped down very recently. So congratulations, Kathy and Glenn, for continuing the hard work. I had to go do other things.
Oh, other way.
All right, so just a cool fact about myself, being in this business for 30 years. I started on Cypress Street, just down the road from here. I've been working for the defense contractors and some of the larger information security companies for a very long time. I saw my first internet hack, Christmas Eve, 1990. I think half of you was not even born by then. So, been working in this space for a very long time. I serve on the InfraGuard board, the CIO Council, the CISO Council. Honored and privileged to work with folks like you guys and with the law enforcement folks. It is amazing what these guys do and for how long they do, and they are relentless. Two things. One is, Michael talked about FBI. So FBI has a public-private partnership called InfraGuard. And I encourage you all to become a member of InfraGuard. You get early access to some of the information that's coming down. So you can know in the neighborhood, in the industry you are in, the company you are in, what kind of cyber attacks are happening. And if you become a victim of a cyber attack, you can then share information with them, they can help you. The second thing is we just got a briefing from CISA, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency. They also have a mandate. They have a representative here in South Florida. And interestingly, FBI only does investigations, whereas CISA has been funded to come and help you. So if you have a cyber attack and you're calling Michael, you can also call CISA and they will also provide resources for you. And it's all free. It was amazing, the briefing was amazing, we just got it last week. And all of those resources are all, that communication, that discovery, that support is all protected under attorney-client privilege. So that was the other interesting thing we found out. But anyway, quick, we've been around for 10 years. We are the strategy arm, if you want to call it, for Land Infotech. So we will go into companies and we will do the risk assessments. We will go in and do all of the, where is the risk, where is the data, where is the PII, PHI that caused heartburn. And once we find out where it is after the assessment, whatever the technology that needs to get implemented, we will partner with companies like Land Infotech. So that's sort of our partnership. And I guess I have to now start working with Kathy also, right? So, you know, I guess, yes. And probably at some point in time with Mike also. So, you know, again, we're all partners in crime. Preventing crime. Sorry, let me explain it. I wanted to set the stage for the panel discussion as we go along, right? So I wanted to bring to you why this cybersecurity problem is happening, right? What is the sort of, if not the cause, but the magnitude of cybersecurity. So if you actually look at the reach of the internet, it all the way goes back to how many people are there on the earth, right? We're getting close to about 8 billion people. 5 billion people are connected on the internet. So think about it, right? The moment you connect yourself to the internet, you plug your laptop, you turn on the data part of your phone, 5 billion people have access to that device or to that internet or to that firewall or to whatever you just connected to the internet. So that's the magnitude of the problem, right? There are about 4.5 billion unique users out there and active social media users. So not all of them are hackers, not all of them are causing the issue, but there are few of those, and it's very easy once you get on the internet to scan. Like Mike and I were just standing and talking about, and before that I was talking to somebody else, if you're connected to the Wi-Fi here at the museum, I can scan your phone and find out what's open, what's not open, if you don't have a VPN turned on, and things like that. So some of these things are very easy. That's how the internet is built, on those easy protocols. That's why it has been adopted by so many companies and people. The other thing I want to point out to you is, look at us, right? In the US has a population of 347 million people, 350 million, you can say, give or take about 6 to 7% of the world. The rest of the connected world is to the right and below us. So there are about 400 or 4.5 billion people who are outside the US and who are trying to get in. Think about it, right? US is still the most mature technologically in the world. And so all of the bad actors, and you can divide the bad actors into multiple, right? So there are organized crimes. So there are, well, some of the bad actors are the college kids who are just creating mischief. The next set of bad actors are folks who have been hired, so organized crime. And then you have the nation states. Nation states are the Russia, the China, the North Korea, who want the technology, who want the information, who want the data we have. And so if you look at the magnitude of what this is, it tells you that this is growing by the day. A couple of the other things, right? As we set up this, the panel discussion, it takes about 6 months to find a data breach. So they may be in your network and you never know, right? So what technologies do you use? You have to think about it. What technologies are you using to know that the hackers are inside, right? Small businesses, 50% of the small businesses get attacked every day. Over the last 2.5 years, my company has handled about 20 ransomware attacks here in South Florida and nationally. And if you ask me what is the range, 2% pharmacy, all the way up to a Fortune 100 company. So it doesn't matter how small you are or how big you are. If, again, as you're connected to the internet, you will get attacked. There will be one user who's going to. They use that emotionally to engage with the employee, and that's how they get in. That's how you're going to, be bombarded every day at work about phishing. Anyway, so some of the other stuff from FBI, every 14 seconds a company gets a ransomware attack, and so on and on and on. So with this background, I'm going to turn over to my panel members, right? We've got 3 different industries, 3 different backgrounds. And it'll be interesting to hear what they have to say about some of the things that they are experiencing. So I'm going to start with Kathy, and one of the questions is, Kathy, the business you are in, who are the barbarians? Right? So the topic of this panel is barbarians are at the gate. So who are these barbarians, and what problem are you solving for yourself, for your company, and for your customers?
So we primarily deal with small to mid-sized organizations and also some municipalities. So think police departments, fire departments, school districts, that type of thing, so local government. And by and large, in those 3 categories, the barbarians that you mentioned, the ones that are for hire, so financially motivated crime is the biggest thing that we see. And typically it is a ransomware scenario where the company is targeted and their data is held hostage, hoping that they will pay in order to both preserve their reputation and get that data back so that they can continue to operate. So our company directly addresses that through offsite backups, which is our bread and butter. The company, when we were first founded, that was the very first thing we did, was to help the organizations who might not have cloud expertise on their teams, especially back then, cloud wasn't even a word, or at least not in this context, and to help the doctor's offices, the law firms, the CPA firms, the municipalities that have, 5, 10, 15-person IT teams, but maybe not a cloud engineer on that team or a cybersecurity analyst on that team. We help them to securely store their data off-site so that in a very bad scenario where all of the machines, all of the local storage is encrypted and ransomed, we're able to at least recover that off-site because we're using different authentication. It's a different team that's managing it. It is both off-site and off-network. So anyone who's familiar with the 3-2-1 rule of backups, right? 3 copies of important data on at least 2 different types of storage media with 1 copy off-site and off-network. We help them fulfill that for a fraction of the cost of trying to figure out how to do that on their own.
You guys get that? 3, 2, 1. That is something that you're going to start seeing that during investigations, either the lawyers or the examiners for the government are asking, do you have a 3-2-1 strategy? So please note that down, that 3-2-1 is becoming very, very important from a backup perspective. I'm going to turn it over to Mike. Mike, from your perspective, who are the barbarians and who are you trying to solve the problem for internally your company? And then for your customers, right? The services and products you're manufacturing. I think it'll be fun to hear from you.
Yeah, so again, Social Mobile creates Android-based devices that are specially built, special purpose for enterprise use cases. So for example, you can take a Samsung phone or a Samsung tablet, put a fancy case on it, put it on a fancy stand, but at the end of the day, that's a consumer-first device, right? It has a lot of services running in the lower operating system, which is just a large attack surface. So what we do is we build Android devices that are then certified by Google. We go through the same exact certification process that Samsung, that even the Google Pixel team goes through, and then we get what's called a Google Mobile Services license. With that license, that gives us the ability to put all the Google services, including Google Play and all the other stuff that they force us to put on there. But the security piece we get is we get a Google root signing certificate that we embed in hardware. It's required for us to do such a thing. What that does is then it gives us a very strong integrity checking component. So we know through that certificate checking process, if the read-only system partition changes, we know something happened to the phone. That is a free service from Google. We also get Google Play Protect, which is one of the largest anti-malware solutions and is provided directly by Google. So why is it important that we do this and we put this on our devices is we are selling devices for business, healthcare. We build special devices for vaccine management. We've got retail customers using our special tablets. We can't afford to have a forked version of Android running on these devices and have them vulnerable. So Google makes us jump through hoops. I just named a few, but it literally takes 6 months to get a device certified. And then we have to go through carrier certification. So the importance is our devices are special purpose built. They last a long time. They get updates for 5 years, unlike the consumer grade. And it has just the bare minimum of services running. So we sort of we make it possible for enterprise customers to use very safe gear.
What would be the biggest risk for your customers, right?
So think about the vaccine management devices. There's healthcare data flowing through that thing. There's also payment data flowing through that. So we have to ensure that we implement encryption correctly for data at rest. We have to ensure that our applications and the customer applications are implementing SSL properly. Believe it or not, there's probably 100 ways to implement it, and 99 of them are wrong. And so we know that because of the services that Google implement on the devices. So we're protecting against really theft, data theft, identity theft, and financial information. direction.
So I don't want to put you on the spot, but is Google security better or Apple security better?
Well, since I spent 8 years on the Android security team, it probably wouldn't be fair for me to respond to that. I'll just say that I would say both mobile operating systems are probably more secure than any desktop operating system. I'll just leave it at that.
Ooh.
Very, very nice actually. So I used to be an Android user before, and I switched over just because I think I'm getting old. So religiously, I will tell you both OS are much better than the laptop you guys use and click on every free stuff that's coming down the pipe. So thank you.
Yeah, there's actually a good Forrester paper out that talks exactly about Apple and Android and how secure they actually are today. So if anybody's interested, see me out references.
Michael, you want to answer the same thing? You know, you
Sure.
deal with small, medium, large. What would be the barbarians look like to you, and you know what shield and what sword do you go after?
So I'll turn it around on that side of it because I'm thinking, where do I start? So all of you guys are the guys that are the ones that the end users are really our biggest thorn in our side. You know, Rick and I are from SecNap, work with a lot of. I'll give you this example. IT guy calls me yesterday. You know, you probably were called also on this, and he sends me this little picture of this device. It was called something like Net, and it's a picture off of his phone, and it looks like a Wi-Fi hotspot. When I go to you see him laughing. When I go to the web page, you can only buy this device, you know, with euros, and it clearly states that this device is so that you plug it into your Wi-Fi network, and then sort of like Napster, you're sharing that company's Wi-Fi, and they're paying you in Bitcoin per usage. So I have to Google this to figure this out, or I'll Bing it. Right. Now, his system picked it up, our system improved. Meraki picked up a Rogue wireless device, so I looked it up. I called the IT guy who calls me all the time, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Did you find this on your network? And he goes, yep. I went and I confronted the attorney, and he said that, hey, I was telling you I was getting bad Wi-Fi performance in our corner. I just plugged this in. And we're like, really? The website clearly says what this is for. Now, I said to him, you know what? I want to call the managing partner because we dealt with a few cyber incidents there, and I don't know how this guy still has a job, because this is clearly like, I didn't mean to pull out the gun and rob the bank. I was just kind of showing you this. So you look up this device, anyone that wants to see it, you know, you can come out and talk to me and I'll send you the link. So we're up against that. And when we talk about public Wi-Fi, I didn't bring it in, but I have it in my trunk. I actually have a device called a Pineapple device. Now, I could have plugged it in here, and I've used this before, just as demos that were in place there. And I could simulate the Wi-Fi. Now again, I might not be as technical as Sanjay and some of his staff, but I could watch YouTube videos. And we did this at an event in the BD&T Center. When I first got the device, I put it in, I watched a whole day of YouTube videos. I configured it, and everyone that was in the audience, I told them that, hey guys, would you mind if I scanned your phones? They didn't realize what I was asking. So I simulated it in the Bank Atlantic Center, the BB&T Wi-Fi. Everyone that was in our event connected up to the Wi-Fi. I knew they would connect up anyway. And I scanned their phones. Now, in between presenters, I went in the back, and all I did is I programmed it to scan what Wi-Fi they were connected to at some point in time. Now, we were a predominantly male audience. So when I scanned and I put it into Excel, I'm like, wow, these are a lot of women's names and different things. So I scanned it, and there was a lot of strip clubs that they went to. So I took everyone's name out, and I asked the poll, does anybody have a problem with me sharing the data? And when I flipped up the list of things that I grabbed from the phone, again, it's just where they connected to Wi-Fi, I can tell, you can see the faces that go out there. Now, I realized how powerful this device was, that what I could have done. And I just haven't turned it on probably in 4 years. I just show it a lot. That's it. So I could have maliciously put something in. So when Sanjay talks about public Wi-Fi, and I'll leave you with this, that when the shooting happened in Las Vegas, I was actually there. And I had gone to a Golden Knights hockey game, so you guys see it. And I brought a few guys with me. And they had asked me to go to a concert after. Brought them to hockey, wandered around, I knew things, and as I came out, if anyone's been to the T-Mobile Center, I saw a guy, it was an October day, I saw a guy in an old school trench coat, and I saw him with 3 Las Vegas style women that kind of had antennas coming out of their skin-tight pants. So we followed them into the Luxor Hotel, and as I was just looking at this, I'm looking at this guy, it's a Sunday afternoon, you know, I'm watching this, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go up to this guy. You know, the eyes in the sky, I had a lot to drink, I traveled all day, and I wanted to see, you know, what this guy actually was doing, because I noticed that he opened up the trench coat, he actually put tablets on the table, and he was doing all these hand signals to the girls walking around there. So I connected up to the Wi-Fi network on my Apple phone, and I went through and I started sending text pictures to my other phone within there, and then I caught that he saw me, and I'm like, wow, he really is scanning the network. So got my big chest out like this, and I walked up to him, and I went up to him, and I showed him the phone. And he was just a sophomore in UNLV. I said, listen, I'll buy you and the girls all the drinks. I have a couple of guys with me who are IT guys. I've never run into this before. You know, he's like, okay, you know, bring them over. He answered a Craigslist ad, and on a Friday, he would go to a UPS store and pick up a box, had all the equipment. He showed me the handwritten notes that he had, what times were the best, how he did it, and the software that he had, and he had these mini pineapples that the girls had in there. And I was just like mesmerized. Now I will tell you $600 later, because I was mesmerized. He makes anywhere between $4,000 and $10,000 a weekend, and all he does on a Monday is rewrap everything up, goes to a UPS store, drops it off, and he got money through PayPal. Now I will say that I was exhausted. I decided not to go to that concert. And I started walking back on Vegas Boulevard out there, and as I passed New York, I actually heard the shots. I went back to my room, I didn't know what I heard, and I always turn off all my devices, but my last text to my family, because I'm not a country music fan, I said, hey, Dad might go to a country music, I sent them all my hockey pictures, I went to sleep and I woke up, and kind of saw what went on there. But I kind of put all that together. So the first thing I did when I came home after my wife was like, oh my God, I'm so happy you're home, and that kind of stuff. And you realize what you sit through is I bought one of these pineapple devices. So I say that everybody that connects up to Wi-Fi, my family refuses to go to public locations. We have a lot of family in New York. They will not walk through Times Square with me anymore because I'm like, that guy's stealing Wi-Fi, that guy's stealing Wi-Fi. Now you can see these things, and we tell this. So with the device, people are plugging in, they're clicking. They're saying, oh my God, 2FA is too difficult. We have clients that want us to turn it off, so I make them sign something now. So, we're seeing, and we talk to our executives, no matter how big they are, we really want to do things to kind of show them how dumb is dumb. I don't mean to insult anybody, but in reality, some of the things that they fall for is just freaking stupid. And that's what we're trying to protect against. And yes, we have to secure the phone. Yes, we have to have good backup. Yes, we have to do policies and procedures, but we really have to train the end users. And I could care less if I, slow down their work lifestyle on that side of it. We have to keep secure. And we preach this all the time. I'm at public speaking all over the place. I go to retirement homes. My mom and my mother-in-law live in Tamarack in a retirement community. I help my mom put up little posters. I used to have to sneak into my mom's apartment, with like a hoodie or something, so they wouldn't see me because all the people would come up there with their iPads and line up in my mom's house. Yeah, but you feel bad because you have to do these things. So we think that you have to go out there and speak. And then lastly, we do a lot of work with Broward County sheriffs as well as Broward County schools, and we go out and kind of teach them young what they have to do and what the problems are and why you have to do these things. So again, I wish I had a better story to go out there, but education, and then I usually end the piece with backup. 3 is even not enough for that kind of stuff. I have over 22,000 videos that are digital on there. I'm on 7 different backups because that data is so important to me.
Awesome. So I'm going to open it up to the floor. So you got 3 experts over here who are dealing with different kinds of problems and trying to solve different things from a cybersecurity perspective. Any questions? I have plenty of questions. I can keep going, but I wanted to make sure that you folks have a chance to ask them any Android, Apple, backup, strawberry, pineapple, whatever questions come to mind, raspberry Pi, every fruit you can think of, we have a technical device to do something with that. So, questions? Sure, go ahead.
So, with your emergence of the blockchain, right, the new internet, how are you putting together, that information that's being transferred from one location to another using blockchain technology?
We don't actually do a whole lot with blockchain ourselves or our clients. It's such a new area that the market that we serve hasn't really adopted it. The one thing I will say, I actually had this conversation at lunch with a bunch of attorneys, was that I caution everybody for rushing into some of the newer, really cool tech, but that can have a lot of potential downfalls and risks, that is very immature and hasn't really been vetted and tested. And not to say that blockchain is an amazing technology and it has a very valid business case and use case. The challenge I think right now is that everybody is rushing to build new things on blockchain without fully understanding and designing for security. It's kind of like if you roll back to the early 2000s when everybody's rolling out their own mobile apps or just web apps in general, and we had to do a lot of education with software developers around design for security. Don't build your app and then send it to the security team to test it and kick it back to you to fix bugs. You really have to have a secure development lifecycle, and I think that the integration of blockchain kind of into current development is something that's still really immature. And then I guess the only other thing I'll say with my auditor hat on is for a lot of the startup companies that are moving into this space, you think about what their system of internal controls is, and when you're building something new and sexy, nobody's talking about governance and auditors and compliance. It's not the cool, fun stuff. But I do think that when you do start to roll a product out at scale, that is absolutely something we want to look for. So if you're vetting suppliers or vendors, you really want to dig into what they are doing in terms of their internal processes.
That's an excellent question. You guys want to comment on blockchain and Bitcoin?
No.
We did invite SBF. He couldn't make it, so we got these guys.
With the standards, I would just say that being a big Miami Heat fan, look what happened to FTX. So in reality, I think that you're 100% right. I used to be a developer, and you go out there, and it's having process, QA, go in there. And I don't want to say that old school still works, but old school still works. So having that sexy kind of saying that I'm writing this or going out there is something that really has to be vetted. And in reality, you gotta have a good plan to go through this. And like I said, I just sit there and say FTX. I saw the video of them peeling that name off of the AAA, I'll still call it.
So the only thing I would ask you to do is do a little bit of research. So there's a lot of hype out there. The underlying technology or the underlying mathematical algorithm on which blockchain is very sound. The implementation of that algorithm is blockchain, and then blockchain has a number of different implementations, and cryptocurrency is an implementation of blockchain. But there are other applications of blockchain, like all of the city governments are actually taking all of the leases and the ledgers we had, like if you actually go take a look at your homeowner's lease, it'll have that there's a page in Broward County on which your deal is registered. All of those things are getting converted into a blockchain ledger, which is very different from crypto, right? And again, this had to happen, but FTX is FTX, but there are other sound implementations of cryptocurrency on blockchain. And I don't want to talk about what they are, but there are many other sound crypto tokens that you can buy and sell. Not now. I think wait for a year and then we can go back over there. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to ask. Sure, go ahead.
What are your thoughts on TikTok?
TikTok? Can we meet outside and make a 90-second video and we'll talk about that? So, That is an excellent question. What he's talking about from a TikTok perspective is the privacy aspect of our data and the storage of what we see. So what you as a user may put out and what you as a consumer may watch is getting stored on servers. And technically, that is protected under the privacy laws of the US. Unfortunately, the way the company is set up, there are Chinese technical people who have access to the data. And the veracity of those Chinese people is in question. They seem to be spies from China who are actually monitoring what we do. So whatever you watch in the bathroom, the TikTok videos, the Chinese guys know. Just telling you. Just telling you.
You guys want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'll make a comment on that. So, from a business perspective, on Android devices, we use something called Android Enterprise, and we allow users to have what's called a work profile, which is separate from their personal part of the phone. So you basically have two identities that are completely separate. We do not allow TikTok or Facebook or anything like that in the company or on company laptops or the app itself. As a father, I have controls on my daughter's phone. She's not allowed to have TikTok, so I just had to say that. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, if you think that they couldn't run your daughter's face through an algorithm and not know who she is in China, you're mistaken. And so that's the way I look at it. Don't let your kids or employees use it. What they do on their personal phone, can't control. But anyway.
I'll say that, earlier in the year we were part of Broward County Public Schools Parent University, and when we started preparing for this, we actually did a bunch of interviews with various age students to see where they actually get their information from. And watching the video was kind of really scary to see, 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds, teenagers talking about the sources of data. Also, going out there and, I have all boys, but I do have two young granddaughters. If you guys, see some of the reels that are out there, all I have to kind of do is go like this. If you guys search for that on there, it's kind of shocking to me the young age that girls are posting out there to pull their shirts off and put that stuff in place there. And, it's unbelievable. They all start because they think it's cute with TikTok. And the last thing I'll say is on this parent university, what we did is we had Broward County sheriffs. We also had both local and state district attorneys to kind of let the parents know. Because listen, in my age, you make a little phony phone call, hang up. But now the texts that come in and wanted to at least teach the teenage people what the penalties are by texting in a bomb scare or how easy it is to track things. So didn't want to go on the social media rage, but if you look on Reels and see what's out there, just kind of shocked myself.
Any other interesting questions for the panel members? Somebody wants to know what happens on? Never mind. I know we're getting close to the end of the panel. I'm going to give the panelists an opportunity to wrap up. Before that, how many of you are IT professionals who work in the IT industry? So about 25%, maybe 30%. So keeping that in mind, maybe Kathy, if you want to wrap up, talk about maybe 1 or 2, 3 things that you would recommend to an IT and a non-IT professional. What should they be doing to keep their cybersecurity and data safe and protect themselves from these barbarians who are at the gate?
So since I saw a lot of hands up, which makes sense, right? This is a tech-oriented event. I would encourage all of you to have conversations with the leaders in your businesses and for them to be able to have conversations with your clients, whoever those might be, to ensure that you guys are having risk and strategy-focused conversations around cybersecurity. As I said in the very beginning, it is too easy for senior business leaders who don't understand the technology, don't understand and have a background in cyber or IT or digital or anything else, to assume that it is your job and only your job to keep the company secure. And so if there was one thing that I could leave you with, I would encourage you to go have or find a risk consultant, someone who can do real strategy, right? A fractional chief information security officer if you don't already have one. If you need help with that, contact any one of us. We can help you or point you in the direction, right, get you in contact with someone who can help you. But I think that the strategy component often gets lost. It's more than just blocking and tackling.
Let me just add one thing to what this Kathy said, right? So she used the word risk. And that word risk is actually the word that's causing a lot of friction between the CIO, CFO, and the board. Technically, all us technologies will go to the CFO and ask for money and say, we want to buy 5 firewalls and 5 IDS and 5 VPNs and 5 this. And the CFO looks at it like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, get out of my office. The CFOs and the CEOs of the board understand the language of risk. So we have to convert the techie speak into the risk language before we go present to these guys. Otherwise, we'll all get thrown out of the big boys table. Excellent point. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to just echo what she said, Kathy, sorry. One of the first things I did when I came on board at Social Bubble 11 months ago was to drive what you said, awareness. We decided to take our company through ISO certification. That drives the executives to understand every part of the business in cybersecurity, specifically 27001. It's not hard to get, but it makes everybody in the business know where the data is, how to use it, what's appropriate, what's not. It's a good way to get your users and your executive teams on board with all this stuff. Gives them a lot. I would also say that in my career over the years, one of the biggest mistakes I see IT teams making is they don't use the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid, right? I see small IT teams of 5 people, 10 people, and they have 20 security products. Do you think there's anybody in that room that's an expert on any of those products? I can almost assure you the answer is no. Simplify your products. Don't try and kill everything, because you're only going to be using 10% of all those products anyway. You don't need them all. Simplify. And then we actually do something internal, which Michael mentioned, I believe, was I implemented an internal phishing product. I actually phish our users every quarter. That drives awareness, and every time we take an opportunity to make sure they understand what these things look like. Michael said the weakest point is the users. It's almost never nefarious. It's almost always by mistake, and due to lack of IT training the users to keep them aware. So those are the 3 things I would highly recommend. Keep it simple and train your users.
So I'll have 2 answers, one on the personal side and one on the business side. On the business side of it, really have a plan. We find that, IT tries to do something, it's written in the IT jargon. We need everyone from the top down to really understand it. The top has to understand it. We are about 70% law firms, and I can tell you 35 years working in law firms, there's always one of the guys saying, don't you see my names on the wall? I need to get to this site. So in reality, we need buy-in from the top down. And I love, we're in our phishing month. We started early November, and I love sending those out. I phish my own employees. If I could, when they clicked on and put their credentials in and somehow shock their fingers, I'd do that. Because some of them are so blatantly stupid that they fall for these things. So we need the buy-in from the top down so that everyone understands. And we have to have a plan. When working together with Rick, we had a client that had an exfiltration, meaning their data was stolen. We had a plan. They had a plan. It wasn't a great plan, but it was a plan. And on the personal side, be an advocate. Go out there. I talk all the time about this. My post that got the most over the whole year is we put up this little graphic, and it sounds kind of funny, but it was like, treat your passwords like your toothbrush, don't share it. Now think about the corniness of that. I looked at it, I'm like, I put up so many great white papers. I had more hits on that. So we really want to be an advocate for that. Talk to your kids, talk to your family, help people out on that, and really preach that, it is an epidemic, and it starts in every walk of life and every age group out there. So that's why I feel so passionate about education.
So actually, I just learned a new thing. We end up using, saying passwords are like underwear, but I use the toothbrush. I think it's a little bit better. That one, I think, would not go well. So I think that's pretty good. Turn around. So you You get 2 uses out of it, but I get no share. Anyway, thank you again, Kathy, Mike, Michael. Hopefully you guys learned the backup 3-to-1 Android is also very, very secure, and passwords like toothbrush, right? The only thing I would add is make them long and a paraphrase. Just to give you a statistics, an 8-character password can be broken in 4 seconds flat. Think about that for a second. 4 seconds flat. Make sure you get to 12 characters at least and use a paraphrase. I love Miami Dolphins. Make that with a few ups and downs, or use the zeros instead of the O's. But thank you again. Great audience, good questions. Thank you, panel members. Appreciate it. And go Tech.